Hello friends! You're on the Last Days channel. Thank you so much for your engagement and support. And so, a review of events for November 10th and 11th. Oman. The Arabian Peninsula and Africa are experiencing massive floods that have had serious consequences. In Oman, Somalia, and Kenya, emergency services are unable to cope with the amount of rainfall. Water has flooded streets and homes, and traffic has become inaccessible. Residents of these countries say that such things are rarely seen here, so no one was prepared for the impact of the elements. In Kenya, there were landslides that affected several villages and farms. According to the latest data, 29 people died in Somalia, and 850,000 residents suffered. It is noted that it is Somalia that is worst prepared for natural disasters. Floods in Oman have already called the strongest for the last few years. The exact number of victims is being specified. In this regard, the UN has sent additional aid to these countries. At the moment, meteorologists do not specify how long the bad weather will last in these regions. Alaska, United States. In the city of Anchorage, in the south of the U.S. state of Alaska, it suddenly snowed. The amount of precipitation was so great that local schools were forced to stop classes and close. It is reported that more than 30 centimeters of snow fell in a few hours. Roads have been blocked, ice has formed, and many flights have been delayed. Emergency services fear warming temperatures, because if it all starts to melt, flooding cannot be avoided. Residents are being asked to temporarily postpone long-distance travel, stay in their homes, and monitor messages from emergency services. The snowfall is expected to continue until early next week. The last time something like this happened in Alaska a few years ago, the snowfall lasted for 7 days. France, Europe. In France, in the north of the country, floods continue. In this regard, the authorities have decided to close schools in 200 communes. The red weather danger level can be prolonged if necessary. Everything depends on the situation. The most difficult situation remains in the department of Pas-de-Calais on the banks of the rivers A and Liane. According to the TASS news agency, French Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin urged the population to be as careful as possible and follow all safety instructions. The water level in the rivers of the region continues to rise. The Liane River reached historic levels of 5 meters 13 centimeters back in early November. However, water levels are predicted to rise even higher to 5 meters 60 centimeters. According to the latest reports, the floods have caused injuries to 7 people. The agency has mobilized more than 1,500 firefighters to help the population in the affected areas. Lahore, Pakistan. Dense toxic smog has covered the Pakistani city of Lahore. Because of the toxic fog, tens of thousands of people fell ill. Schools, markets, and parks were closed for 4 days in the city. Residents of the city are urged to wear masks when going outdoors. Today, the concentration of solid particles in the city's air is close to 450, which is 30 times higher than the maximum daily average recommended by WHO. According to experts, the main cause of pollution is the burning of crop residues at the beginning of the winter wheat sowing season. Uzbekistan. Snow has fallen in mountainous areas of Jizak and Tashkent regions. Earlier, Uzbekistan warned of air temperature dropping to 0 degrees Celsius in mountainous areas. Today, it snowed in Chingan village of Bostanlik district and Kumushkin mountain village of Parkent district of Tashkent region. As previously reported, on November 9th, precipitation in the form of rain and snow is expected at times in foothill and mountainous areas. In some places fog and rural flooding phenomena are possible. Turkey. An earthquake struck Turkey on Thursday. Underground tremors with a magnitude of 4.9 were recorded on the border with Syria. European Seismological Center reported that the origin of the earthquake was at a depth of 9 kilometers, and the epicenter was located 21 kilometers east of the city of Iskenderun, where about 159,000 people live. Fortunately, the tremors did not lead to destruction, and there was no information about deaths or injuries. However, after February's earthquake in Turkey, many are worried. Earlier this year, the country's most powerful tremors killed more than 55,000 people. Mogadishu, Somalia. Heavy rains have pounded Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, turning streets into raging rivers. The National Disaster Management Agency says up to 29 people have died in the flooding, the worst in decades. More than 300,000 people have been displaced from their homes. Somali authorities say they are doing everything possible to rescue people. In the town of Luke in the southwest of the country, the Juba River overflowed its banks, cutting off nearly 2,500 people from the outside world. Heavy rains have flooded cities across East Africa. Recall that the flooding came shortly after the worst drought in 40 years. Displaced people in temporary camps are again suffering from the natural disaster. Experts say that the flooding in the region was caused by two weather phenomena at the same time: El Niño and the Indian Ocean Dipole. However, despite the best efforts of authorities and experts, many people continue to be left without help and support amidst the flooding. The situation remains critical and requires an immediate response from the international community. France and Italy. Dengue fever, a disease that was previously confined to tropical and subtropical climates, is now spreading in Europe. France and Italy have seen outbreaks due to very hot summers. The disease is transmitted by mosquitoes and can cause fever, headaches, and fatigue, and kills up to 40,000 people each year. Most cases come from travelers who contract the disease abroad and bring the virus back. However, this year there has been a spike in the disease in countries where it shouldn't be. France, for example, has reported more than 1,000 people who have fallen ill. Moreover, mosquitoes of the species A. albopictus, which previously lived only in tropical and subtropical climates, have appeared in Europe. These mosquitoes feel well at temperatures from +15 to +35 and breed in standing water. According to scientists, now, when these mosquitoes bite an infected person, they can carry the virus in their bloodstream. Specialists have not yet explained what to do about this, but it is already time to take some measures before the situation becomes critical. Shepherd, Texas, USA. In the United States, residents of the small town of Shepherd in Texas are trying to move away after a poisonous fire at a chemical plant. It is noted that the company that owns the plant is engaged in the packaging of various chemicals. As the U.S. media write, the emergency occurred when one of the employees saw a leak in a container and tried to lift it with a forklift. After that, the fire started. One person was injured, he was hospitalized. The rest of the employees were evacuated. However, all the details of the incident are being established. Now the authorities are asking all residents who are within a radius of 8 kilometers from the plant, do not leave their homes and tightly close the windows. Some motorways are temporarily closed. What impact this will have on the environment is not difficult to imagine. However, officials have not made any statements yet. US President Joe Biden has also remained silent on the incident. Venus. Eclipse. Yesterday there was an eclipse of Venus by the sickle of the moon, visible from parts of Europe, the Arabian Peninsula and parts of North Africa. This is a very interesting astronomical phenomenon in which Venus, the second closest planet to the Sun, passes behind the Moon from the Earth's point of view. Venus was hidden behind the Moon for 1 hour 12 minutes 32 seconds. This eclipse of Venus by the Moon is often referred to by astronomers as the covering of Venus by the Moon. This was the second covering in 2023, the first having occurred on March 24th. Most people observed this phenomenon through telescopes or binoculars, but there were also those who were able to see it with the naked eye. It was truly amazing and unforgettable. Genoa, Italy. In Genoa on Via Aquarone, a landslide swallowed several cars and scooters. After heavy and prolonged rains over several days, the ground was washed away and the wall that supported the road near the car park collapsed. Along with it, cars and scooters rolled into the dip. Even the flats in the neighboring building were covered with heaps of earth and cement, but, fortunately, there were no casualties. However, 10 local residents were recommended to live elsewhere for the time of repairing roads. Now at the scene of the emergency are working emergency services and repairmen. It is not yet clear how long it will take to restore houses and communications. Reykjanes, Iceland. A state of emergency has been declared in Iceland due to the threat of volcanic eruption. This decision was taken after a series of earthquakes that occurred on the island of Reykjanes in the southwest of the country. Over the past 2 days, about 1,400 tremors with a magnitude of 1.1 to 5.2 were recorded. Scientists believe that such activity signals a possible volcanic eruption north of the settlement of Grindavik, where about 4,000 people live. Authorities have warned of the possibility of stronger earthquakes, which would only exacerbate the situation. In this regard, residents of Grindavik and tourists staying at the Blue Lagoon Geothermal Spa Center were urged to evacuate. Experts believe that the accumulation of magma at a depth of about 5 kilometers may reach the surface in a few days. However, the presence of shallow groundwater could cause several short-lived explosions. Iceland has 33 active volcanic systems, which is a large number compared to other European countries. Northeast China. Atypically early snowfalls with blizzards have hit northeast China. Cities are covered in snow, people are being blown away by strong winds. Utility workers are barely coping and airlines are canceling or rescheduling flights by the hundreds. In China's northernmost province of Heilongjiang, 51 passenger trains have been cancelled because of the storm. In Harbin, schools and kindergartens were closed for several days, and university classes were cancelled. In the city of Jiamusi, because of heavy precipitation collapsed gymnasium, 3 people died. An investigation is underway. However, the gym itself was built only 5 years ago, and in 2020 it passed a safety inspection. Pas de Calais, France. Storm Eliza has caused widespread flooding in the Pas-de-Calais department in France. Evacuations have been announced in a number of settlements due to the critical rise of water, and kindergartens and schools have been closed in 200 municipalities. Authorities have declared a state of high alert as 70 to 100 millimeters of rain has fallen over the past 24 hours. The soil saturated after previous downpours risks overflowing rivers, particularly the AA and Liana rivers, whose water levels have reached record levels over the past few days. Individual settlements were flooded and rescuers had to evacuate 19 people from a nursing home in Nil-Lublek. In addition, about 100 cattle were rescued at a farm. The situation is still tense and water continues to stand in settlements, drowning the county. Authorities are asking residents to be vigilant and take care of themselves, and to turn off water, gas, and electricity in case of widespread flooding. Delhi, India. For 6 days now, New Delhi's air quality index has been at least 10 times the safety threshold. The metropolis floats and drowns in gray smoke. Residents are walking around in masks. The authorities have taken emergency measures. They have closed schools and suspended construction work. Drivers whose cars pollute the environment face fines. Cabs from other states have been banned from entering India's capital. The government plans to introduce even traffic rationing. Authorities are spraying water on trees and advising residents to go outside as little as possible. And also on the 20th of November, they are going to cause artificial rain. No one knows how it will turn out. Our planet. Scientists have announced a high rate of melting of glaciers in Greenland. Their research has shown that the island's ice cover has started to disappear twice as fast in the 21st century compared to the previous century. More than 1,000 glaciers in the region have changed their length in the last 130 years, which roughly equates to between 10 and 12.5 tons of ice cover. All of what is happening is due to climate change, and the only way to alleviate the situation is to fight for the Earth's ecology. However, there has been an increase in snowfall in northeast Greenland, which may slow down the melting of ice in the region.